Good evening, everybody, and welcome to August 5th, 2025 caucus meeting for August. So welcome as we start our meeting sequence for the 25-26 school year. Welcome to all of our guests in attendance and to those viewing online. As we begin our caucus meeting or generalized work session, I would ask that the principals take a couple of moments to talk a little bit about the start of the school year and anybody and any other administrator who would like to make any announcement or overview. So we'll go ahead and start with high school. Mr. Funk?
Thank you very much. I just want to first acknowledge the hard work our custodial maintenance staff has done so far this year. They're working up clear until next week when teachers come back. The floors are looking good, and we're pleased that we had a full staff this year. They're going to knock the lobby out this weekend and be ready for teachers returning then, students on the 21st. We're looking forward to that. We continued to work with Seton Hill over the summer on additional college and the high school courses to be offered here. They have a little bit more rigorous process than some of the other colleges we've been working with. We submitted about 8 courses for approval. They worked their way through with their faculty, and we've received official approval for 3 classes to start the fall: Calculus 2, Physics, and AP Computer Science. Students will be able to register for, and they're going to continue to go through the other classes we submitted for review. So hopefully we can increase our offerings for that. Mr. Page and I were looking forward to the return of the teachers and students. They've been in now that the schedules have been released, so picking up parking passes and answering scheduling questions, so it's great to have them back on campus. Our back to school night is September 4th. Before that, during the day, the Attorney General representative is coming out to present to the students presentation on social media, safe surfing, cyberbullying, and I was able to arrange with the representative. They're coming back that evening to do a parent and family session from 6 to 6:45 before the class rotation starts back to school. So we're thrilled we're able to offer that to our students and the parents. I think it'll be a worthwhile presentation, and I'm excited to roll that out to our community. So we're looking forward to the start of school and ready to get the students back.
Thank you, Mr. Funk. Any questions for high school? All right, we'll toss it over to middle school and Ms. Sabinski.
Things are going well. We have kids are scheduled and everything, and we're looking good. One thing Mr. Black wanted me to mention was our 2 back-to-school nights. 5th grade is going to be on August 14th from 5:30 to 7:30, but the program begins at 6 o'clock. So we welcome all the 4th graders transitioning up to the new building so they get a chance to look at their lockers, their teachers, feel their way around the building so they don't feel as anxious the first day of school, which is nice. And then we're trying something new this year for 6 to 8 to get some more community involvement and attendance. We're offering a dinner. We have parents sign up. If they sign up online, it's $1.50 for a hot dog, bag of chips, and a drink. If they just kind of show up, and at the door it's $2. The PTO is kind of running with that for us. We were hoping to get more attendance, more involvement with the parents, but we also wanted the kids to attend. So partially through that, we have a goose chase, which is an interactive, go and find and take pictures and ask teachers silly questions throughout the time. And if they stay the whole time and submit their goose chase, then they're going to have a chance to earn a door prize from local restaurants who have donated and things like that. So we're really excited for that change this year.
Thank you very much. And before we get into athletics, on behalf of Mr. Ward, our elementary school principal, and Mrs. Walsman, they both unfortunately were not able to be here. Mr. Ward has finally taken a much-needed vacation, but he'd also like to thank the custodial staff for all of their work thus far. He said certainly it was a huge undertaking, and the building is looking amazing and ready for students. He said teachers have been in and out of the building, preparing for their classrooms for the summer, getting all their materials organized, and he said we're very excited about the new math program, Bridges, to be able to roll that out this year to our students. And teachers have been participating in trade days to learn more about this program and prepare their materials and to begin that implementation. And we would echo that as well, all of the hard work that they've been doing to really front load for that program. This week, we are welcoming our new kindergarten students through our program, Early Birds, and that's ran by Miss Lisa Perkins and several staff members. They've done an incredible job, and Mrs. Perkins is extremely, extremely organized, and she does a great job. Students have the opportunity to become familiar with the building and their classrooms, as well as some of the teachers. They'll leave with some great resources to help them throughout and to, again, to front load and get ready for that start of the school year. Our kindergarten back to school night, speaking of, will be August 18th here at Susquenita Elementary School. Parents and students will rotate through 3 sessions, including visiting a classroom, the favorite riding the school bus, and visiting the cafeteria, which they'll get a snack, which is always fun. The event will be held 5:30 to 7 o'clock. Our 1st through 4th grade back to school night will be held on August 28th. It'll be 6:30 to 8 o'clock. Parents and guardians and students will be able to tour, visit classrooms, and attend various informational sessions. If any organization would like a table to showcase what they have to offer, please reach out to Mr. Ward directly, and he'll make sure that that table is ready to go inside of the cafeteria. Johnny A's will be set up in the parking lot to offer some reasonably priced and delicious dinner for those that are interested in that as well. Mr. Ward wanted to make sure that they thank the Susquenita Elementary School PTO. They're getting prepared for the school year and excited to partner with them this year. And if anyone has an interest in volunteering and joining the PTO, to please reach out to Mr. Ward also. Lastly, we're excited to welcome on August 20th our students. And for kindergarten students with the last names A through K, they'll come to school on 8/20, kind of a staggered start. And they'll be home. And then on 8/21, will be with the last names L to Z. And then again, everybody will be on 8/21. So kindergarten students, kind of that staggered start, given that smaller, be able to navigate the building a little bit more. And it's worked well over the years, and we're excited to welcome our students. I'm going to toss the microphone and the time over now to athletics. Mr. Markowitz for an update on what we're looking like now at the start of the fall season.
Okay, so just a couple updates that we have going. So football heat week began this week. So everybody showed up yesterday, and they're getting out there and they're getting a lot of work in, which is great. Junior high football numbers are fantastic. Right now we have 34 junior high football players, which is more than we expected. The goal was 25, but 34 right now, possibly 37. And they're showing up all summer. They really did great, and they're getting at it right now too. So we're very excited for the junior high football season. We have 7 games, and I believe 5 are home. So they'll get to play on the turf in the stadium. It'll be a cool thing for them. So all other sports, high school soccer, high school field hockey, begin Monday. Fall sport pictures are on the 13th. Middle school cross country pictures are on September 11th. Our athletic department family presentation is tomorrow night, 6 o'clock in the high school auditorium at 6 p.m., followed by meeting the fall coaches and hearing more sport-specific expectations from them. Schedules are almost completed. There are some moving pieces and some things change, but right now it's about 99% good, and it's on our website. But like I said, there might be a few changes coming along here. Impact concussion testing has started. It's becoming a take-home, and it's actually working out very well. I spoke with our trainer today, and the students are going home, and they're taking the test, and everything's looking really good. So we're able to track those scores and get a baseline for everybody, including junior high. Last year, junior high was, they didn't have to do it. It wasn't required. This year it is, so we're having it across the board. Football hosted a 7-on-7 tournament. It was a success. Football boosters actually raised over $1,800, and with junior high coming in, that's a big help for them. So that was a great success. Video board training, thanks to Christine, started. We had some people down there in the stadium today working on it, really getting football going. We've never used the video board with football, so we were testing that out today, and everything went well. We're going to continue to train and get ourselves ready for that first game on the 22nd. Last thing, we officially registered today for the T-Mobile Friday Night Lights, which is a really cool thing. 350 schools will get rewarded $5,000, 25 schools will get rewarded $25,000, and the winning school will get a $1 million stadium makeover and a brand new weight room, which we could use. We could use a new weight room and some things in there. So we did register. I did put it on social media. We're continuing to put it. So the more we post, that actually will help us higher chances of winning. So everything is on our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We are putting it out there. So if you see it, share it. There's hashtags and there's different things that you can put out there. But like I said, the more we post, the higher chances we have to win one of those prizes. So drawing actually starts like this week. So another draw will be this week, and they're going to continue throughout the season. So we got a good chance. Other than that, just getting ready to go for the fall sports.
All right, we're going to go ahead and transition now into personnel items. Looking at the agenda for August 12th, which is our board meeting for August. Unfortunately, we do have several resignations. It's not uncommon this time of the year. We have Mrs. Baskin from the position of elementary school teacher, Mr. Eber Morris from elementary, Courtney Neal from the position of custodian, Donnie Peters from the position of maintenance. And I'd like to thank Donnie for all his years. He really has done a great job of making sure that our fields are outstanding, and he's been a great member of our team. Taylor Reed from the position of elementary teacher, Chantel Ivy from the position of paraprofessional, Kaylee McGugan, position of elementary teacher, Mrs. Heimbaugh from the position of elementary teacher, and Jerry Adams from the position of building substitute here at the high school. We have 2 retirements, and we want to wish them all the best. The first is spent the latter part of 28 years with us, and that's Kelly Reichert from the position of paraprofessional, and Kelly's been just outstanding, as well as our next retiree, who's intending to retire on April 7th, and posted this to allow us the opportunity to begin looking for somebody that she can work with and train, and that's Mrs. Terry Walk from the high school. And Terry's been outstanding. Anytime they can keep Mr. Page and Mr. Funk in line, it's definitely a really great thing. Now we're looking, transitioning to our employment. We have Emily Kristoff from Halifax for the position of elementary teacher. Kaylee Fidoltz from Duncannon. She will also be an elementary teacher. Courtney Kemmerling, elementary teacher. Julie Murray, lunch aide and recess aide. Haley Sherman as a long-term substitute for grade 6 math and science. Carrie St. Pierre is transitioning to buildings and grounds secretary. Michaela Swoyer, elementary teacher. Callis Wexler, she'll be a long-term substitute for high school Spanish and family and consumer science here at the high school. And Kara Wells, elementary teacher. We have 2 change in status as a teacher moves across the scale in terms of credits. We have Lindsay Krismer, moving from Bachelor Step 7 to Master's Step 7, and Zach Laux from Master's Step 15 to Master's Plus 15 Step 9, to Master's Plus 30 Step 9. We have intermittent family medical leave for Mrs. Jennifer Atkins, a substitute custodial staff member. We welcome back Matthew Wachinski, and successful completion of 90 days for Brandy Berwin. She's done an incredible job in our district office and done an incredible job of helping me. And while I joke that Terry keeps Mr. Funk organized, Brandy keeps me organized, as well as our entire office. And Robert Scruggs has done a great job here at the high school as well. And we are excited to have Mr. Scruggs here and all his hard work. We have several induction teachers, co-curricular assignments that will be for the August meeting as well. Moving into some agenda items. Before I do that, I apologize. There is an athletic coach and volunteer. We have Amy Rabin, one of our board members. She's volunteering to help and assist with the football team. She's going to provide some oversight, some of the research that she has in terms of overcoming adversity, mental health awareness, anxiety, and just some of those studies, and it will really help in terms of kind of a pilot for sports performance. We have independent golfers. We have 8 independent golfers, and our independent golf coach for approval, Adam Timchek. So we really thank Mr. Timchek once again taking that lead to provide this incredible opportunity for these independent golfers. Big Brothers, Big Sisters. We have Karen Mann, Sarah Pedrick, and Stephanie Laux, who are going to organize our Big Brothers, Big Sister program. It's really important to our school district. It's done a great job of really empowering middle school students and elementary students and our high schoolers to serve in that capacity of making sure that those healthy relationships are there and serving in that capacity of mentor. We have approval of the high school targeted school improvement comprehensive plan that Ms. Snyder will present on, as well as elementary school targeted comprehensive plan that she will touch on here in just a little bit as well. We have our bus list approval from Aurora Bus, our contracted bus provider, Act 80 days approval, as well as the look at Policy 429, which is the remunerated fringe benefits of substitute teachers for the 25-26 school year. We have some contracts, Pinnacle for our school doctor, Central for PPD tests and physicals, Clasic and Associates to continue with our district auditing services, Pro Quality Clean, the Vista School, and possibly another contract as we work through the finishing elements of that. Some policies, capital assets, property records, and tobacco use are on for second read. Information as we look at the booster clubs, as we continue to get that information, we'll continue to share that as attachments for our agenda here in August. Any question on agenda items or personnel? Hearing none, we're going to transition, and now this is going to be a tag team approach as we get this presentation up, which is our goals. We're excited. We took a lot of time as an administrative team over the summer to really take some time, work on these goals that you as a board developed for us, which we're excited to have at a workshop that we had following one of our board meetings, that you were able to kind of tweak some of those goals that we had from the previous year. When I say tweak, because a goal is certainly more of a goal with a deadline, right? That you continue to work on and you don't fully necessarily arrive at, that you continue to make those adjustments as we continue to move. But the team has done a great job. We met several times to go over that, broke into small groups, and worked to develop these goals over time. One of the things that we wanted to make sure that all of our goals do is align with our portrait of a graduate. We want to make sure, again, that our students walk away with these skills. These skills are going to be they're going to be worked through all aspects of our curriculum, work through all aspects of what we do on a regular basis. So we want our students to walk away being persistent and resilient, strong communicators, engaged citizens, personally responsible, and innovative. You'll see that throughout a lot of the goals that we've set, that you've set, that we're going to continue to work on. Here are our collective goals. Number one, continue to work on curriculum revision while finding ways to be more transparent and inclusive of the board at each level of our revision process. Number two, further develop the concept at the town hall by revisiting and processing data from the last town hall and expanding upon the town hall offerings for the 25-26 school year. Number three, use the data from recent engineering studies to create and document future short-term and long-term goals in regard to district facilities. Some of those aspects we'll talk about this evening. Remain fiscally prudent by planning for future expenses while focusing on development of a system of accountability for fiduciary accounts. So one of the things we wanted to do was break those very large and broad goals down into specific goals using the SMART goal format. A SMART goal allows us to break those down into actionable steps. So when we say SMART, it's going to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. So the first is to continue to work on revision of the curriculum while finding ways to become more transparent and inclusive of the board at each level of the revision process. So I'll turn it over.
Sure, absolutely. So our group worked on breaking that down into our SMART goal. And the specific part of that is to implement a structured process that is going to deliver to you all quarterly curriculum writing progress reports, basically feedback summaries, plans for revision, and we're going to bring that at quarterly caucus meetings, and it's going to be aligned with the district's 6-year curriculum cycle. The measurable part of that is we're going to provide at least 4 formal updates to the board annually. 1 per quarter is the goal, that outline current curriculum mapping, curriculum materials and resources, upcoming actions, and feedback opportunities. But we'd also like to conduct at least 2 surveys annually, 1 for board members and 1 for our parents and guardians, and 1 for high school students on curriculum priorities, course offerings, or transparency satisfaction. And the achievable part is coming up kind of internally by August 15th. We're going to designate staff members, and we're going to decide who's going to leverage those existing board meetings, digital dashboards, internal reporting, and surveys. We're going to work on compiling those to actually get ready to present to the board at an upcoming caucus meeting, and maintain a Google Doc for the board to submit questions at least 1 week before each of those approval discussions. And then the relevant part is by October 31st, we're going to convene monthly collaborative sessions with instructional staff to update curriculum maps in line with latest standards changes and deliver those revised maps and a summary of alignment to the board of directors. We're going to enhance transparency that way, build trust, and ensure consistency with our goals and standards. And time-bound by September 30th, we're going to implement the reporting process aligned with our curriculum cycle, and we want to deliver that first full curriculum update report, then provide formal updates during marking period 1, 2, 3, and 4, with stakeholder surveys conducted in November of 25 and March of 26.
So before we move on to goal 2, any questions on this goal? And we'll send this information out so you'll have more of a chance to look at this. All right, we're going to roll into goal 2. Wait time hasn't been my thing, I think, as a teacher really well either, so feel free at any point to stop me.
Goal 2 is to further develop the concept of the town hall by revisiting and processing data from the last town hall and expanding on town hall offerings. As we know, that first town hall was very successful. We want to continue that momentum. So our group decided that specific goal was to, by analyzing data and feedback from the previous student town hall, identify key themes for improvement and innovation, explore the opportunity to expand town hall participation, include the middle school students, and developed a revised town hall model that enhanced student voice across grade levels. So the measurable part is to develop a proposal for expanded 2025-26 town hall offerings, including middle school inclusion and at least 2 new engagement strategies by September 30th. We wanted to keep with that same theme of just having that one town hall meeting a year, but trying to include the middle school students. Implement one town hall throughout the 25-26 school year and track attendance, student feedback, and participation across grade levels, aiming for a 20% increase in student engagement. The achievable part is to work collaboratively with student volunteers, staff, and administration to gather insights, identify logistical needs for middle school involvement, and explore possible enhancements. Relevancy, the goal supports the school's mission to foster student voice, equity, and community engagement across all grade levels, creating a stronger sense of belonging and shared leadership. So part of our timeline is we did review data from the previous town hall on August 15th. We plan on having a meeting with some middle school students, teachers, high school students, and teachers soon. I don't remember the exact date, but we're coming up with we have a meeting planned to get input from students to see how they want to have that engagement. We will have our proposal submitted for September 30th. We want to have the town hall mid-November of 2025, and then we want to evaluate that process to see how we can continue to improve it.
Thank you very much. Any questions on that?
Yeah, could you go back one slide? What do you mean by engagement strategies?
Yeah, so we talked about the way that potentially getting the questions from the students, proposing, and the rest of my team, if you want to jump into, finding the questions from the students, right? So last time we used a Google form, so maybe another way to get those questions from them, bringing in the middle school students and
Having the high school students who are kind of more like running it, having more of a design and leadership role in it, kind of running it as opposed to us telling them what to do. So I think that's
So if
So
I,
student engagement.
am I understanding correctly, we're still talking about one town hall meeting, but including middle school?
Correct. We're talking about including more the eighth graders, not necessarily the entire middle school, but the upper middle school, like seventh and eighth grade, as they will be transitioning into the high school.
I guess some of the feedback that I had, and I'd like to hear from the rest of the board, I think the board was envisioning having more than one town hall meeting. And last year, the town hall meeting that we had, it was so robust. I cannot imagine adding a whole other group of middle school students to a meeting that was already, we had to cut it basically because it was so personally, I love the idea of middle school. I'd like to have maybe one at the high school, one at the middle school. But my other thought, when you were talking earlier too about the engagement strategies, and again, this is just me talking, first and foremost, I think when we envisioned the town hall was to have students in front of us, getting to see us, know us, reach out, ask questions, talk. I personally would hate to see this evolve into something more online. We want it to be
No.
literally a town hall.
No,
So-
the engagement strategies was more to get them involved in how we make it almost like a project-based learning approach, where we got them more engaged in getting the questions submitted, and also engaging their peers so that they could, so we can get more kids out to the actual town hall.
Yeah, a part of me, and I'm not, a part of me feels like I want to object to allowing them to even send their questions in online, because then they won't feel the need to be here, but I understand what it is, and I thought what we had was very successful. More students who can actually see us, touch us, maybe break bread with us, have a snack, the better. But I would not want to see our town hall go to a middle school, high school one meeting personally. I'd like to expand it by having more than one, for sure, but that's my thoughts. I don't know what other board members perceive.
Yeah, I agree with you. In fact, I thought we had kind of touched on the idea of maybe having one sort of in the beginning, more or less at the beginning of the school year, then one at the end, kind of maybe see how we did. But that way we're implementing or at least gathering ideas early on, as opposed to waiting till the end and then it's like, oh, well, what we could have, should have done, we didn't.
And that's why we were thinking about November for the first one, because
Ah,
it does
okay.
give the students the opportunity to get in.
Right, get their feet wet.
Get comfortable, get their feet wet, see
Right.
what they do feel like they want changed, and then, we can do it. It's sort of like the end of the first marking period.
Yeah,
And then
okay.
that gives us the opportunity to make those changes before the end of the school year.
Very good.
No, we did, and you all weren't a part of our conversations, but we did talk about having, originally, I think we talked about having two at the high school, one
Right.
in the fall and then one in the spring.
Right.
Which I would not be opposed to doing that and having one at the middle school at some point anyway, just to include them, which would be 3 meetings. I don't know if that's too much work, not enough work, but the whole point of that is, or maybe we have one eventually with just community. But the whole point of it is just for us to hear from the kids, but I don't know what other board members are thinking.
I think the two age groups, like the high school and the middle school, they're at different places.
Yep.
And I think having different meetings, we want them all to be heard. We want that opportunity, and it does sound very overwhelming to me. I'm not sure they are going to be heard in one big meeting that we would have that could be 5 or 6 hours long. So I love the idea of separating them. Maybe having one meeting for the middle schoolers, like let's get your feet wet, for preparation for high school, if that
Right.
makes sense.
Yep.
But 2 different age groups, and then the 8th graders in middle school can feel really heard, so that they can improve life for the younger middle schoolers too. So I like the idea of 3. I think that would be good.
Yep, I agree. Say something.
So I guess I'm trying to understand the concept of having the town hall for the middle schoolers. Is it so that they can improve the middle school for future middle schoolers? Because I also see the value in them participating. So I kind of disagree with people saying that their voice will be lost if they participate in the high school, because they might have an opinion about what it is that they want to see for themselves coming into the high school, that they don't get to have a voice in having and being in that type of forum. So maybe for that second one, they would get to have an opportunity to participate in and have a little bit more of an opportunity to hear from the upperclassmen, this is what happens. And then that would spark for them, oh, hey, but this really would be better for us as freshmen coming in to really have more of an impact on what is relevant for them coming in as freshmen versus other people telling them what is relevant
Yeah, and
for
I'm just
them.
basing this on the first town hall, which was, do you know what I mean? Like, it turned into, a lot of it was, we'd like to see this and we'd like to see that. And again, we were running low on time. We wanted to answer all these questions, and I value what you say. Like, I agree. It's how do we incorporate that? And how do we allow each group to be heard equally, you know, so
And
that's you guys' problem.
And I would want every student to be able to feel like they could be heard, not just the best looking and the smartest and the brightest or whatever, you know what I mean? But to your point though, if we do have three, maybe the 8th graders attend the middle school one, and then they attend the one at the end of the year with the high school, and they'll be able to attend both, just in different roles. Like one, we're kind of like the leaders of the middle school, and the other one is, oh, we're what they used to call ankle biters when I was in school, you know, the freshmen, so.
Well, and I think that's something for the group of maybe thinking about how, is there a way to set the tone without driving it, to say, here's the purpose of this. Maybe the first one is, we want to know what it is you'd like to see us improve for the year moving forward. That, you know, and that could be for maybe the one at the middle school. It depends upon when you do the one at the middle school for the 8th graders. But the one at the end of the year is, what is it that you'd, you know, how you word it differently to help drive their questions. They're still going to ask the question, like they can still submit their questions, but maybe how you frame the overall tone of what it is that as a district and as a board we're looking for, if that makes sense.
Or even have them come in with ideas about what would they like to see, how would they like to see it run. And I don't know if that's giving them too much autonomy right up front, or it's like, yeah, no, bring on the questions, because that's what we encouraged, if you recall, from the last one.
I like that. I also like the idea of maybe not being too specific. It's like, hey, if you had the opportunity to talk to the President of the United States or whatever, say, what would you say? Like, that's how, say whatever. This is the board. Just come on in. Tell us your thoughts, what you think. I mean, could be good, could be bad, could be improvements, but here's your opportunity to talk to those people. Maybe with not as much specificity, but it has to have some.
Right.
Anyway, there's something to think about.
Yeah, we certainly can come back and take a look at those, and what I'm hearing is just more, kind of a couple of touch points. You know, they do take, in terms of structure and format, it's a tremendous amount of organization that goes in to that as well. And that organizational piece is more levied to allow time to advertise and to allow students to equally have time to make sure, like you emphasized, to have that voice. Maybe that's something where we look at formal, and then we look at something that's a little more informal. So it could be something where it is like an open, kind of a reception style, where it is less formal, less rigid, more of a come, discuss, meet, greet style format that's a little less maybe structured format in place. And that might work pretty well also for the middle school students as well. And something that if we added food to, you know, and kind of piggyback it more towards the end of the day, we might get some students who are able to come.
Do we have, so you just said something that made me think, like in where I work, we have a feedback loop, so it kind of builds off of that versus it just being at the time of these town halls. It's a system called My 2 Cents. And so basically the students at any point in time, it doesn't just have to be at these town halls, could submit, quote unquote, their 2 cents. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be something that, you know, it could be vetted, but basically it's an opportunity for feedback that could be taken then to the administration or even then to the board to kind of say, hey, we see a problem. This is my 2 cents about it. That's what we call it. But, you know, so I don't know if anything like that exists in the districts, in the buildings.
Well, we do that for staff in terms of like safety. If you see something, you say something, report it. And students have the opportunity, I believe, to use that QR as well. The second is we have 2 outstanding board reps that are going to be here as well. And we certainly can leverage them and their ideas, but to also leverage them to really help that feedback loop. They're really in tune with the student body. They're in tune with the needs of the student body and represent the student body really well. Principals Advisory Council is another loop that we can utilize as well. But I would agree. The more that we can kind of hear different students and their voices, to not just kind of wait until this isolated meeting, but to continue to allow them, because what we do is for them, and what we do is with them, and I think those are important factors. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to goal number 3. This goal number 3 is to use data from our recent engineering studies to create and document future short-term and long-term goals in regard to district facility planning. So to be specific, we're going to review, adjust the facility study in areas not identified or will not be identified in our ESCO or GISA project, and update and create a 5-year plan for buildings and grounds of our district. We know that buildings and grounds 5-year plan, though, is going to be elastic. It's going to move and need to be adjusted every year as certain elements and certain ideas, such as breakage or things that are really imperative, may move to the top. And therefore, things are certainly going to be a little bit more dynamic. And by October of 2025, an updated facilities plan that details current and future major repairs and anticipated replacement equipment that is needed for mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. As the plan continues, this document will be updated each year. And I think that's the key to it, is making sure and kind of revisiting that plan. And that plan kind of bleeds into what are some of our capital improvement needs as we continue to move forward past this GISA project and past some of these other projects that we want to accomplish right now that are on our horizons, and look forward to what the future is going to be. The plan will include elements of the most recent feasibility study and long-term replacement or refurbishment. The plan will also align with the goals of the board and adjust to meet the real-time needs of the district. It's a 5-year cycle, and it will be adjusted each year. 5 years seems to be a reasonable amount of time. Predicting out too far into 5, 10, you'll have some of those long-term needs that you'll see, such as replacement of the synthetic turf, replacement of the track as that comes to its life expectancy. Certain other units that are past their point of life expectancy will also be noted in there, as well as vehicle replacement that needs to be added in here as well. All right, we'll transition to goal 4, which is our financial goal.
All right. The goal 4, it was Mr. Browse, Mr. Markowitz, and I sat down and looked at the changes that we wanted to make based on feedback we've received from auditors, and just time to bring the accounts into, current methodology. So we focused on planning for the fiduciary accounts. Specifically, improve the management and oversight of fiduciary accounts, student activity funds by updating procedures and implementing a dual authorization system for all transactions. Measurable, we have increments that basically at the end of the year we want to reduce any discrepancies by 10% and have 100% compliance from advisors and student officers on the procedures they're following. These are achievable because we're going to provide targeted training to the student advisors, student officers, my secretarial staff, so we're all doing the same thing for all accounts. And proper management of school funds, this ensures transparency and accountability within the district and state regulations. So our complaint training and procedures are going to be completed by November 1st. It's because usually in September, that's when the clubs are getting reorganized and we'll start meeting. And then we'll reach the reduction in compliance goals by the end of the school year. So in ours, we created some sub-goals that match up to the SMART goal. We are creating a document that outlines the roles and responsibilities of the member of each club or fiduciary group. Advisors and student officers will be trained as outlined in number 1. Then we spent time focusing on class dues. Class dues is something that we get questions about every year. Dues have been a time-honored tradition. We're pretty low in what we cost here. Class dues are used to help supplement events for the year and that are used directly for the students without using taxed money, taxpayer money. Dues are $10 per year for underclassmen. Senior dues are $20, but that includes the graduation photo from the night of commencement and the group composite photo of all the seniors. One of the focus was money remaining in the senior class account at the end of the senior year will be used to help offset any costs for the senior trip, the senior sunset, and the end of the year activities. So we could pretty much zero out the account and spend it on the students that earn that money over their 4 years. That was one of the goals. Some of the things dues are used for, helped offset costs of the DJs, the dances and prom, class t-shirt, bring the cost down, ice cream parties, picnics, and different events. Dues are required to be paid prior to participating in social events such as homecoming, dance, and prom. Students who do not participate in these activities are not required to pay dues. So if students are not participating in these extra activities, social events, they're not mandatory to pay dues, except senior dues. If they want the photos, it must be paid. So it sort of puts it in writing to share with the community exactly how and why dues are paid.
Thank you very much. I think the key will be having that uniformity across the board, having and providing that, which is something I think that will really work well, and therefore empowering our students to have that those kind of administrative procedures and lanes to operate on. So just in the future, our next steps is we're going to continue with the feedback that we received tonight, review these goals. We're going to begin the process of working towards their implementation and provide updates and progress reports on the status of those goals throughout our board meetings and throughout our caucus meetings.
Yeah, I would just like to say how very impressed I am with the work the admin team did to take the goals and make them into SMART goals, especially the curriculum ones I think are excellent. I look forward to us finalizing them and like to see us make a poster or something, or definitely get them posted on the webpage. I mean, if anyone asks, what's the district doing, what's the board doing? I mean, if you were just to have this posted on the webpage, it would be pretty clear that we, among everything else we're doing, have a pretty good focus. So I appreciate it a lot.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and transition into curriculum summer work, professional learning, new teacher agenda overview.
Sure. Yes, thank you, Christine. So I always like to start out just giving some curriculum updates because we talked to you back in June a little bit about what was going on in the summer for planning and trade days with our staff members, and just posting the updated curriculum cycle. Again, I know it looks like a bunch of numbers just thrown together on a chart, but I like to keep referring back to this because it kind of keeps us just looking at our plans, because we're constantly revising and editing as well. And then, Christine, if you go to the next slide, that's where I really want to talk about just kind of some of the summer work that we did and where we're at in the process. So we definitely took a lot of time to look at some different subjects this summer, but like to bring up to you just the fact that it's not something that we've been ready to finalize this summer. We're going to work in the fall a little bit and hopefully bring those to you soon for board approval. So K-4 ELA and math, that was a massive project that we had last year working with our curriculum teams, and we are getting very close to finalizing those, but we need a little more time with our teams after our teachers come back in the fall. So we will be bringing you updates on that, but also really trying to hone in on our math, because we have a new math program that we're going to be starting as well. So really, we want to get the ball rolling with that and then take a look at any of those edits that we might need to make as well with those curriculum maps. So 7 to 12 science, we know that our science standards for the state are required to be put into place for the 25-26 school year, the STEEL standards. So we've been working actually the last couple of years trying to get those maps and things incorporated. So we definitely are very, very close, and I know I'm working also on finalizing some of that K-4 STEM curriculum as well to bring to you for approval. So we have those almost finalized and ready to go. A lot of work was done. Surprisingly, we got a little farther than I thought with the 7th to 8th grade ELA and the reading courses. The teachers did an amazing job this summer, so we are further than I thought with that, but we will be bringing those to you shortly. And 7 to 12 math. We know that that's a process as well, and we have the few final courses that we're working on to finish as well. Middle school Spanish I bring up because I know we have already brought Spanish maps to you to vote on, but we also had a new middle school Spanish teacher join our staff this year, so there are some things that she wanted to take a look at over the summer, definitely to put into the curriculum, so we'll have some changes there. And then also, we've been bringing our food and consumer science maps to you as well for the high school. So what the team wanted to do this year was meet with our middle school teacher, who was also new to the staff at the middle school this year, and really bring those two levels together. So that's what we've been working on there as well, to look at continuity. So what's coming, we just really want to start wrapping and finalizing things, but we know it's just a process because it takes time to get all these teams together to work and, to bring the discussion forth that happens at these meetings. So we will continue that process. And we're really excited just to kind of keep moving forward and really taking a look at social studies, 7 to 12. I have a group actually working next week starting at the middle school. So we're just going to continue that process and keep moving with that. But again, I also brought up with the K-4 STEM, that's something that we've had in place with our teacher, Ms. Bear. She's been fabulous. So, just wanting to get that to you so you can look at that for approval as well.
What does it mean by begin 7 through 12 social studies?
Meaning that we are going to formally get teams together to actually start to look at the maps, the things that we've had in place, and what we want to do to move those forward. Because the standards haven't changed, but we have, and things have changed, and we need to look at our resources and the things that we have. So to get them in on that cycle, where we can get that piece started, it's going to take us, time to meet and put those things together. So just that's what it means when we say begin. It doesn't mean that we're not looking at curriculum or teaching what we already have. It's just we really need to kind of dig in and see what we can do to improve.
I think part of the whole transparency piece in the first school on curriculum was, I think one of the things the board, I'm just gonna say the board, someone can correct me if I'm wrong. One of the things we were hoping was, as we begin these processes, that somehow board members could be a part of that process. To say, for instance, there are board members through the, K through 4 ELA or whatever that are wondering, why are we not doing cursive writing anymore? Why are we just printing? Or I think there are board members or some that have said, why is civics not a graduation requirement? Or why are we teaching this in this particular grade? So I don't know if at what point the board can be a part of some of those conversations. I know you're meeting with the teams of teachers, but somehow for us as parents and community members to say, hey, we've heard these concerns in social studies, or we've heard these concerns in science. How is this addressed, or where is this addressed? It seems like in the beginning process of going over a particular curricular area would
That
be
would be
the
the good
time to get community feedback via board members.
Yeah,
So I
and
don't
I
know.
think that's where our group, I know I'm the only member of my group that's here tonight, but the team that worked on the curriculum goal, that was really a part of our discussion, was how to bring that transparency, and that's why we thought the idea of a survey, trying to put that out there and solicit feedback in that manner. But, I mean, also being a part of the actual in-person discussions would be,
Yeah, I'm not
if
sure-
if
I'm
that's a
not-
way that we decide to go.
I'm not sure what the venue would be. Perhaps like as we're beginning social studies, maybe
Right.
at a caucus meeting, say, we're starting social studies, we're looking at this, and from the board, are there questions, concerns you have in that area? And each perhaps content area at the very beginning to see if there is, there isn't, or whatever.
And
That might be just part of a conversation. I don't know what that would look like. but-
Sure, and I think that's exactly what we talked about, just trying to maybe design the survey that way, just to start those questions and put them in there and have those discussions. But that was kind of like part of our thought process, and just, you're right, like the venue, how to do it. Survey was the first thing that came to mind, because we could survey different groups and solicit feedback.
I like the idea of, with the board, a conversation. I don't know if there would be time for a conversation, but I know even as we've talked about things, there were board members that have shared things that it set off a light in my head. I was like, oh yeah, I used to feel that way too, and then what, you know what I mean? Just those when we have those conversations, and with community involved as well, like a caucus meeting, it could very well bring in comments from other people. A survey is a good, but it doesn't elicit the back and forth, I think, that sometimes
real person,
conversation
yep.
does. It may not even be a good idea to do something like that or be able to do that in a caucus meeting, but it's something to think about.
I like it, thank you.
No, I think we can go ahead when we put starting social studies, and let's say, for instance, if we're starting high school and we're beginning that within the next month or so, here are kind of the pathways of the courses, the electives versus the required courses that we currently offer. What are some feedbacks right now or areas that you would like us to research or focus on or have those discussions with our teachers as we begin that mapping process to look at what needs to be cut, what needs to be created, and what needs to be kept in order to ensure that our students are meeting not only our portrait of a graduate, but our civic responsibilities as we continue to not just be engaged citizens, within our county, but here within the United States. And how do we ensure that that those frameworks and those elements of the social sciences are connected? American government, civics, U.S. history, world history, and geography, which is extremely important, and how do we put those elements in those maps to ensure that continuum is happening. So those are the feedback that we're looking for as we continue that charge of our teachers spending that really important work, and very painstaking work, if you will, of looking through it and figuring out what and how are we going to deliver that within X amount of time.
That's good.
Well, and also keeping in mind that some of our students go to the tech school and they receive social studies instruction
They
at the
do.
tech school.
They do.
So that complicates the matter to
Certainly
make sure
does.
that our students aren't getting duplicate.
Yep,
Yep,
100%.
thank you. Then just to finish off a couple things, I know I've talked about these groups already, but the curriculum committee and the professional learning task force, we're really going to continue that work in the fall and meet with those groups. Again, just to help us refine and review our cycle and our current state of work. Basically also to review instructional items that are brought forward to the committee. And just really, the professional learning task force has been just so helpful in providing that cycle of support as we move through each of our professional learning in-service opportunities throughout the school year. So we're already planning ahead. The stuff that we're actually getting excited about and starting tomorrow was planned months in advance and spoken about with these teams. So again, we're just going to continue that process as we move forward. But in front of you, I did give you 2 copies of agendas that we have been working on, and actually tomorrow morning, the new educator induction program will start here at the high school in the library. So you have that agenda, which is 3 packed days with our new educators. We have 10 so far that are going through the program, and we culminate those 3 days where they actually get to spend time with the administration, with their mentors, and doing some of that work that's needed to get started for the school year. So that will start tomorrow morning. And then next Wednesday, the 13th, you have that agenda as well, which sort of kicks off 4 days, 4 August in-service days that we have with our staff members, and the 18th being the day that we actually have our paraprofessionals joining us as well. So you can see we sort of tailor activities to the different groups that we have with us at different times. So it is jam-packed. So what you are seeing is the district agenda, and then we have each building, the principals actually send out building level agendas that break down that time even further. So again, it has taken so much work and back and forth trying to make this work for every building, because every building has different needs and different things that we're working through. But we've really tried to utilize every minute of time that we have over those 4 days. So they are jam-packed, but I know it's better as a visual to have it in front of you, so that's why I wanted to make sure you had a copy of that as well.
All right, we will transition into targeted school improvement plans.
Yeah, actually, we are excited to bring 2 plans to you for possible approval next week at the board meeting. We have the high school. We're moving into our 2nd year as a targeted school improvement school. So we have a plan that we've developed, and really I think a lot of it is continuing on from the things that we have put into place in the last year. So we will talk about that plan first. And Mr. Funk and Ms. Bressie, they are happy to kind of jump on and give us some support with that plan.
Thank you. A lot of this information will look very similar to last year, because we presented when we were placed on targeted school improvement, which is an early warning system if there are some deficiencies, and we were identified for our students with disabilities subgroup areas. Well, once again this year, we're on the same targeted school improvement for students with disabilities. The interesting thing with the timeline from PDE is we've not gotten the results of last year's targeted school improvement to see if our initiatives improve those areas yet, and we won't for
The next cycle.
a while. But we're confident. I mean, we looked at the data that we have that's very raw and are cautiously optimistic. So we're going to maintain very similar initiatives that we did last year, because feedback from the teachers, they seem to be very receptive and speaking positive of what's going on in the classroom for these students. So this is going to pretty much mimic what was shared last year, since we don't have feedback on how we did yet. So Christina, if you want to. So some of the indicators, the students with disability group was below state average, right, in math and English language arts. And the graduation rate for 4 and 5 years was below those 83.72 for the disability group compared to 84 cut score. And this data is based on several year old, is where they pull it out, because there's a lag. And attendance rate was also something with the disabilities group we were working on, very similar to last year.
The other thing, when we go back to the graduation rates, it's a 4 and 5 year cohort. So anytime a student stays until they're 21, they actually, it doesn't count in that data. So they have the right to stay until their 22nd birthday now. However, it's a 4 or 5 year cohort. So if they're not graduating in that 4 or 5 years, then they automatically fall into the not graduating within that time frame. So it's skewed a little bit.
Some of the things, the goals we're doing to address these, looking at Keystone data, that's continually a focus on us. Department teacher meetings, collaboration with regular education teachers, special education, Ms. Bresci meets on a regular basis with the high school special education teachers to target these areas of need. We actually have scheduled time so that it enables teachers to meet as a group of Keystone subject teachers and IEP teachers to help work on instructional strategies to target these areas of need.
Do this one? Okay. So through the intense interventions that we're providing, and we meet, and we also bring, there's a team that comes together with students that we feel are at risk. So then we can look at those students and put measures in place to help those students succeed. So through those intense interventions, our goal is that we will see a 6% increase in the CDTs. So those CDTs are those diagnostic tests that are taken that help predict future scores on the testing. And then the Firefly assessment scores by those Keystone Trigger courses, which is Algebra 1, Biology, and Literature. We also have worked with, the other thing that I've had a lot of conversation with in regards to some of our special education teachers is really, Mr. Benowitz in particular came down and met with me this summer, and we had a long conversation about how he can be working with those special education students on those pre-algebra strategies to a little bit more intensely to get them ready for the algebra keystones. And you know, with the testing, unfortunately, as we said, some of those students, they are in Algebra 1 or they're in biology or they're in literature. They don't necessarily have an alternative course pathway, so they are required to take that test. And that sometimes that can make it difficult for that achievement. And then this has to do with those CDTs and those Fireflies assessments, which is just done 3 times per year to help create that diagnostic tool so that then they can take a look at that data and see what they can do to target those areas that need those interventions. And then this is the graduation rate. We are really close to the graduation rate. We are like literally less than a 1 percentage point away from that graduation rate. So again, just looking at those students, seeing what we can do to maybe get them out into co-ops or get them into classes that can help them be successful, and those remediations. I have also talked to my teachers, the special education teachers, about really getting the students in for the after-school study periods and to get that extra help. And then this has to do with our special education teachers and the school counselors, again, having that meeting that I just spoke about, doing those quarterly checks on that progress report. We have to do those progress reports, and we have to take those, do the progress testing periodically based on the IEP, so we can take a look at that progress and the work that they're also doing in the classes and look, you know, how they're progressing towards the graduation and towards achieving what they need to achieve in those specific classes.
Sure. And team, I always like to show the roadmap, just because this is a process when you go through comprehensive planning. We know we went through that massive process as a district, but also each building is constantly just reviewing the data and taking a look at things. So in spring, we started to work with the stakeholder committee, even though we had been meeting throughout the year, but that meeting in particular really starting to look at some of that new data to gather feedback, revising and writing the plan. Really, our job in the summer is to take that feedback and really kind of formulate the plan and get it ready for presentation and approval. And then really we want to start in the fall to begin the implementation. And we have to keep reflecting back on that. We monitor the implementation. We keep meeting with our stakeholders, you know, to keep everybody in the loop and to see where we're at. The state does require us to give quarterly reports. So we're constantly looking at that, going in and reporting how we've met and made progress towards those goals. And I like to put that out there that in the spring, we're hoping we can, you know, continue that work, taking a look at things. But we do not find out about future designation for these plans. Usually it's around December, January, right in the middle of the school year to try to prep for the year after. So again, we won't know until we start, you know, implementing these things.
And also, too, the interesting thing is, too, is as we report data, it gets very interesting because although we would say the end of the first quarter is,
Yeah.
November, when we would typically report, for these plans, we report the end of September.
Yeah, they start July
and then the end
1,
of
so,
December. So we have 2 months,
Yeah.
almost 2 months of actively being in the plan where we don't have the students. So it makes reporting difficult.
yep, it's just the cycle that they put us on. And we also have, tonight, just to share with you some of those goals for the elementary school. If you remember from years past, the elementary school, because they are designated Title I, they have to do a comprehensive plan every year regardless of other designations. So currently, right now, the elementary school, because they're Title I, we would have been doing this planning anyway. But last year, we had a reprieve where we actually came off the targeted school improvement designation, and we are placed back on it again this year, taking a look at some of those same indicators with that students with disabilities subgroup. So we're looking at that group again. But, as Mr. Funk brought out, this is really just it's an early warning system. It's trying to, take a look at some of these lagging indicators and lagging data just to put us in a place where we are, growing and moving forward. But again, it's something that we are constantly monitoring, but we are looking at old data all of the time, which makes it a little bit difficult. So taking a look this year at the elementary schools indicators. So again, with the students with disabilities student group, the achievement, it takes a look at math and ELA combined. So we have the percentages there. And then it also takes a look at growth for math and ELA with that subgroup of students. And then also at the elementary school, we are looking at attendance, okay, which is something 2 years ago we were flagged for. And if you remember it's been a while since we've spoken about it, but since we're using lagging data, we're coming out of those years from COVID where we did have lower attendance rates for that subgroup. So if you look at what our data was 2 years to what we're seeing now, even being designated targeted school improvement, we have grown a lot. We have made a lot of growth, and you can see that we are almost to the state's cut score. So I think we're getting there, but we've just had to we had to be monitored based on lagging data, which made it really difficult.
I have a
Oh,
question.
sure.
Is this cumulative data for the entire elementary school? Is it kindergarten through
Yep.
Yes.
fourth?
Just with
or
that,
fifth?
just
Fourth.
fourth.
For fourth.
Yep.
And does our raw data give us an idea of, I guess my question is there a higher concentration of kids who are lagging behind coming in from early intervention as opposed to that then is causing a challenge to try to get them caught up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we have, and that speaks to why this year we have 21 early intervention students. So we are getting students in that have already been identified and are coming in lagging with those skills. And I'll be very frank, one of the biggest things that I've given feedback to the IU in regards to is the robustness and the frequency in which they're providing services to these early intervention students is not at the frequency that it needs to be to bring them up to what we would deem as school appropriate or school readiness level. So yes, we are getting more students in that are already identified, that are already kind of starting behind the 8 ball, but we're working very diligently to, bring them up. We do have, there's quite a few students, I think 4, which again isn't, it's a percentage of the 21, but 4 of our students that are already identified are indoor early birds. And we, just in the couple days that they've been in there, we've seen significant growth. Also, with our attendance data, we do have had, over the last couple years, some students that are extremely medically fragile. And that, of course, has impacted us.
Yeah, two side notes to that as well, just to piggyback on your early intervention. we're on our third year of partnering with the United Way for Ready to Learn and Ready to Succeed program as well, and giving those resources to the parents and providing those parental workshops. It's been really successful, and Bridget's done a great job. And we've had some of that data that the United Way provided for us to show that continual growth, and then again to continue to outreach. The second is attendance is not that daily average attendance. It's not, when we run our daily average attendance at the elementary at 94, 95, 96%. It's taking a look at students who have missed 18 or more days. So it's the 10% rule of your 180 days. So it's 18 days. And those absences can be for any reason. Could be a family trip. Could be, unfortunately, you fell ill. Sometimes the student has to sit a few days out of school due to some behavior. So all of those elements count for attendance purposes. So those are things that we watch and track, and we've got a pretty robust MTSS team that works in all aspects of it to ensure that those elements are in place to be able to support students.
So just to share some of the goals and action steps, I wanted to make sure that the board knew that the team, the stakeholder group that has been working on this plan, we've had some consistent membership over the last couple of years. But one thing we wanted to make sure, just because we did come out of a district level comprehensive planning year, we wanted to make sure a lot of our things were in alignment with one another. So we knew that the elementary really wanted to focus on that ELA and math growth. So we wanted to kind of bring that into our goal for our building level plan. So for this school year, really, we wanted, we're still trying to improve student outcomes in ELA and math, but we're actually going to be implementing specific explicit instruction strategies with fidelity across all of our classrooms. And really, we're gonna take a look at progress by comparing that student performance data in the general education and special education population. Because again, as a TSI designated school, we want to make sure we're addressing that population that we're being targeted for as well. So we're going to continue that with ongoing professional development, fidelity walkthroughs, and really the action step for that is really to bring in our partnership with the Capital Area Intermediate Unit. They're going to be bringing in some training and supports to help us. You guys, as you have the agenda in front of you, our elementary teachers will be getting some of that support coming up on one of these August in-service days, and we're going to continue that piece throughout the school year. So that is one of our, go ahead, Denise, one of our big goals.
We've also partnered with the Capital Area Intermediate Unit, where they come into our buildings once a month. So they come into the elementary school once a month. They partner with us. They meet with myself, Mr. Ward and Mrs. Walsman, to target if there are specific areas that we would like to see them come in and help the teachers, coach the teachers. They've been very active in our autism classroom, which has been fantastic. They've also done some work in our emotional support classroom, but we've also had them go out into the regular education classroom and help support our students that might be struggling in general education that may not be identified as of yet, and they've been really good. The team that they send in has been really helpful with that.
Thank you. So another goal we have, and as we mentioned, same with the high school, we're not looking necessarily to start too many goals brand new, starting from scratch, because we know that we need time to implement the things that we're doing. So we wanted to continue with our next goal, taking a look at the MTSS refinement cohort that we are a part of, partnered with the Capital Area Intermediate Unit. So last year, our leadership team attended multiple sessions at the IU, and we want to continue that this year, definitely working to implement that framework even further by implementing Tier 1 interventions and supports in the classroom. So the leadership team's going to continue that focus, and then we're going to also definitely make sure we're communicating those building-wide expectations, processes to the staff, and having monthly leadership collaboration meetings with our team members. And then finally, definitely, we needed to address that absentee rate with a goal itself. So after, we have continued efforts of our staff to educate parents and promote the need for students to be physically in school, our absentee rate, our goal to set for ourselves, we want that really to decrease by 8% by the end of the school year. And we know that we have made progress over the last couple of years. So we're very hopeful that we're going to meet that statewide threshold. And again, action steps for that is just to continue education with our parents and guardians, making sure they're aware of attendance policies and procedures, talking to them about these things through multiple different avenues like back to school night, conferences, website announcements, weekly newsletters. I know Mr. Ward and Mrs. Walsman send out building, things weekly. So just trying to keep reminding parents and working with parents to educate them on that importance of getting their children to school. And the roadmap you see in the last is just, again, what I talked about at the end of the high school presentation. We're on that same planning process where we're meeting with stakeholder groups and, continuing that work throughout the year.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that. If there are no questions, we're going to transition into a high school redesign for some sections of the high school. So talking about those sections of the high school, when we were working through some of our feasibility plans and feasibility studies with our partner in Pannoni Associates, we've also discussed the idea of how can we reuse a few of these spaces to really meet a couple of needs throughout our building. And we had some spaces that are being underutilized and some spaces that we can repurpose. One of the goals ultimately was how can we provide, we have a very small stage in terms of being able to get equipment in and out, and an area where some of our performers do not necessarily have a place to change and put makeup on, costume outfit, which was an area of concern that we wanted to see if we could address in the long-term plan. And was also feedback that we received from our students from the town hall meeting. A second was finding a space where we can have central location where it could be used by teachers throughout, kind of a STEM space or a maker space, really an idea and a kind of a thinking or innovation incubator, a place where the students can go and that they can begin to project-based learn, do some of their challenges, and have the guidance and assistance of our teachers. So a space for them to be able to collaborate and communicate and practice those 4 C's. Another area was just how do we readjust some of our storage for athletics and some of the activities. How do we refresh those spaces to make them more organized? So we really challenged our partners in RLPS through Pannoni Associates as part of our study to really look at those spaces. And one of the aspects that we wanted to make sure that we did was not blow out walls, not build all new wings, not build all new sections, really repurpose these spaces and help us really come up with those design spaces where it's cost effective and logical and sequential. So I'm excited about what they were able to develop and excited to show you that here tonight. So we talked a little bit, this is kind of their overall. So the spaces we're going to be talking about are going to be in this area. You'll see this kind of box located in that general region right here. Thank you very much. It's to the right-hand side of our cafeteria. Then we're going to be talking about when you come out the cafeteria doors, this generalized space that's right in this particular region right here. And then we're going to be talking about the space here that's currently our athletic director's office, and the space right across from the athletic director's office, which was a small, which was actually a room that wasn't used, redesigned for a drafting design room, which is going to be repurposed to another room as a computer lab as well. So looking at some of these designs, we didn't want to kind of take out walls. We didn't want to begin that process of structural. We thought there were some design things that we could do initially in this space by knocking out maybe the back of the, well, speaking of knocking out walls, puncturing through and putting a door in so we could get to the back of the auditorium in the back of the stage. Well, it's a grade difference, so that couldn't be done. And looking at the roof sections, the roof actually had a separate pitch that went down, so there's no touching of that at a cost-effective approach. So in this particular space right here was a space that currently is being used by our maintenance team on one side. They have some of their tools, some of their equipment that can be relocated out to the pole barn or different spaces within the high school. And to the left-hand side, it's a great space here. There's restrooms, laboratories, storage. It's currently being used for multi-purpose storage. Has some of our clothing closet for students, and it can be repurposed to another space within our school as well. So the idea here is to kind of put down some casework, placing some areas within here for what we would call a dirty lab, for some small fabrication, big project open space. So again, looking at VEX robotics, the opportunity for them students to put some challenges down in that area. Here located through a small glass wall that would have what we would call our clean lab, because water is right there and current casework is already in that area, that they would be able to use, with a window that would be established right through the hallway and a window into the cafeteria. So that sight vision is there, and the students get a chance to see what's going on in that room while they're having lunch. But also, it really brightens up that cafeteria that has low ceilings and no daylight coming through at all in that space.
Can you there currently is not a courtyard there, currently?
There is. Well, there's a green area in a courtyard, correct?
It's just grass. It's just
It's
grass.
a courtyard.
So are they gonna
Yeah.
just leave, we're gonna leave it like that? Is there?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
cement coming out, so I think like this area right here is cement.
Correct.
Or, yeah,
Correct.
Is there?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
kind of an
the other
underutilized-
courtyard's over here.
Correct. There's two.
Yeah, okay.
Kind of an underutilized space, but having that ability to come in and out could be good for projects, bringing lumber in, bringing other supplies, bringing smaller projects that they want to be able to use inside of that space. Opening it up too as well and just getting that flow, which will utilize that outdoor area, I think, a little bit more. So really looking at what we would call kind of the innovative commons, or it could be innovation incubator, or a name that the students will design, really comes down to just some of the small electrical work, new partitions and doors, new casework, but the base cost estimation of it is $185,500, and that does not include furniture and any of the soft costs, but a 10% estimated contingency that they always do just to make sure. And again, these are engineering kind of quotes at this point. These conceptual designs are not construction build designs yet. And the idea is $203,500 to redesign that particular space to provide for the students for that area that's being underutilized. I'll pause and see if there's any questions on that space before I go to the next. It is a big area. So the next would be our athletic area organization. This wall to the left-hand side, and right to the left again, through the corridor, is the cafeteria. Those are current doors that are already in place. This space right now is being used as multi-purpose storage. Has a lot of paper in there, supplies, some stuff really that needs to be cleaned up, and that process has began. It's a slow process because a lot of stuff we want to make sure it's not just pitched, not just thrown away, because there's some archives and some material we want to really be methodical on what we look at, how we're processing, how we're providing it to the public, either through public sale or donating to other organizations that could have a use to it. The idea and concept is to build what we would consider to be storage spaces. They would be chain link storage spaces throughout in this particular area all the way around. Some of these currently exist. They're chicken wire built, if you will. I call it chicken wire, I don't know the proper term, but there's spaces throughout that area. These would be more organized. Depending on the size of the sport, they would get multiple spaces based upon need. Those stairs currently are in existence. That laundry room is currently in existence. There'd be particular doors in that area. To the left would be building a new office out of an existing space for the athletic director, and you'll soon see why. There would be a door and a window there as well, so that would provide visibility to that corridor, and then visibility into the cafeteria as well for our athletic director. The only downfall a little bit is our athletic director then has to go up and around the kind of that space storage area, down these stairs, but then his current office is right outside of these stairs. Good thing he's athletic and young. He'll be able to move pretty quickly to the gym area and be able to get in and around. But Mr. Warkowitz very rarely is in a lot of times not in his office. He's in and around, so he's more of a mobile office type of guy anyway. But I think that will provide a nice space and a nice area here where he can actually have some conferences with students in this space as well, in a smaller office when he needs to call in students to have those conversations. So just some cost estimate when we look at athletic storage spacing, new layout, a new MEP, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, and the added window to the corridor. All in with the contingency, it would be estimated at $99,900.
Dr. Fox, what are those two spaces? Sorry, I don't know how to describe them. It's like dead space by the AD's office. One kind of looks like it could be a closet, and the other one looks like it's a sink with a door.
Yeah.
What are they?
So that is a current closet, washroom. So that will determine, at that point, it will still stay like a utility closet in there.
Oh, okay.
It's used by custodians. It has a sink in there. It will continue to stay in there.
And is that a closet off of his, like, there's no door on it. It just looks like it's a boxed in.
Yeah,
so-
it's going to be a storage. Right now, it is just boxed in. It literally is a space that's boxed in.
Well, how do you get into it?
You don't. So we're going to have to put a door into it. That door was boxed in.
Oh,
To my knowledge, I believe it is, right? When we walk through there?
like you can't get into it.
So it'll be built out and that will be storage. I think through some redesigns and some others, that it, I think, got boxed in during that point. But again, this will be redefined from a, kind of what we would call a schematic rendering into more of a, the ability to bid. But I believe when we went on in and around, you saw that space, and it kind of was just this wall on the other side of that, and it really went nowhere at that point. So that takes us all in pricing at $99,000 for this particular section. The next was areas for the performing arts. Currently, right now, our electrical shop is located to the left, and this used to be the graphics arts performance area in the. When I say graphic arts, it was mostly the dark room, developing film at that point when we had that program. And it was located right to the right-hand side where that current toilet facility is. So that still exists. That door has been since removed, but it still has the ability for water, is already currently there, which does save a lot. To the left-hand side would be another space where water would be added, but ran through some trenching, and would be two spaces for our students to be able to change. It would be two changing rooms, two areas for our performing arts students to be able to use, and anybody for the stage to be able to use as well. So storage when you first walk in for our performing arts, for our musical productions, and then there would be costume storage, costume design, the ability to use some of the casework that's already there, the ability to put tables out, to sew, to craft, to do the things necessary to be able to build and design.
Yeah, when we were going through the whole process and with the goal of finding a place for our talented musical and play students, they sort of just move around. They'll take over the wood shop for several weeks, and they never had a place to really change besides setting up like blinders or whatever. So taking that old graphic arts room that has the ability, that has the areas already in there, that can have a male, female changing room, keep their things out as they need it throughout the whole season. It's a great addition that will really benefit our performing arts students. So I'm excited. I like all of it, but this one I was really excited that we could do that for our theater department.
On those two storage areas, D113 and D115, the doors open into the electrical shop on the right and into the lumber shop on the left. So it does not appear that is storage for our theater arts program.
It will be.
Okay.
Yeah, it's.
The doors should open
intended.
into the corridor, I would assume.
Yes, I wonder if, and again, they might be existing doors that we'll need to look at and see if they're there right now. I believe they might be.
But as I'm looking at that, I'm also wondering if it wouldn't be smarter or more beneficial to have larger changing rooms with like cabinets and stuff on the wall so that I don't know if you've seen theater, but they don't need a small, they don't understand privacy for one thing, but we should give it to them. But there's a bunch of them in there at one time, so I don't know that they would even need stalls per se. Just maybe a larger room with like shelves on the walls, as opposed to like 2 toilet areas and storage. You know what I mean? Just something to think about.
Well, that's a good feedback point. I mean, one could just be to also shave down a little bit of cost, because you start putting in any of the fixtures, you start to really kind of
Yeah.
go up in cost. Have one that's a restroom facility and one that's just a generalized changing area.
I don't even,
Yeah.
I mean, I would obviously go talk to the people who are in the theater program, but I don't know that they need restroom facilities as much as they need a changing facility and maybe access to a sink. Because they could just run up or down the hall there's bathrooms close, I mean, that they already use.
Kind of in the lobby.
Either lobby, either the foyer or the main lobby or down or the gym area. So I don't know they need access to toilet facilities as much as they need access to a larger area to change their clothing and have storage there. But the other question that I had was, were we able to find any space for storage of lumber or set building materials? Because that's something they desperately needed as well. I know there's a storage area. You can't see it here, but it's also an electrical closet. So, but I also know on the lumber side, there's like 2 big rooms. But were they able to find any place for them to store
Unfortunately,
set
No.
materials? No.
No.
Okay.
No, just in their current storage areas here, as well as maybe, which is just outside of what would be called the drum storage, that room with the circle, which is currently the athletic director's storage room.
Yeah, it's
That's small, but the green room space is another area when we talk about getting ready for the performers. That's where we could have some casework or tables along the way, and that's where their mirrors would be and their ability to get ready in that area.
No, I'm talking 2x4s and big set pieces, and those are the things
Well, we
that.
do have to the right of the costume storage is our woodshop area.
And then to the right of it, there's a huge space. You know
Yes,
what I mean?
the
That's
stairwell
really not used at all.
Oh, yeah.
It has a hood in it, I think, for paints and aerosols or something. But I know it would just be really nice, even if we could carve out someplace in there to be able to store supplies, because they can't keep them, they can't store them, and they can't afford to keep buying them every year. And anyway, it's just. I love this. That's just one area that's not addressed.
Yeah. I mean, we certainly could go back to, if that is the will of you, for me to go back to RLPS and ask them to look at that. I certainly could ask them to look at, I mean, I think if we started carving up the innovation commons, it starts really kind of losing its shape
No,
there.
I'm not asking
Yeah,
that, no.
I'm just kind of talking out loud to see where that might be addressed.
Well, besides the costume area to the right, there is a large wood shop. And then beside that, there's a relatively large area that used to store paint and everything else. There's a fume hood in there. It does not open to the hallway, and
Correct.
it has broken furniture and stuff in it the last time I looked.
Correct.
If there could be a door placed there into the hallway, a larger door placed into the hallway, that they could share that room partly with being able to store supplies for the stage crew, as well as what's currently not being used by the lumber department. You know the room I'm talking about, Mr. Funk? That would be like no cost at all, pretty much. Well, I don't know what you would do with the fume hood, or if to move it, or if they even use it, but anyway, something to consider, because I know this is amazing, but I know that's another big need. They don't have any place to store anything, really, other than an electrical closet, which they probably shouldn't be.
Certainly something we can ask them to take a look at. What I would like to do, though, in next steps, is just based on these schematic designs and plans, I'll go back to RLPS and Pannoni and ask them to see if there's a way they can make an adjustment, if there's anything left in the current budget for this particular project, see if they can make any adjustments, and look at adding any of those exterior or interior doors to be able to get those projects in and out of the hallway for the set design. As well as, I know the room you're talking about, one of the struggles I think our current technical education teacher has expressed is to get lumber in, he's got to go through a side door and then go down the hallway and into his room. So having an exterior door to the back, to if it's feasible with the structure and the feasible of the design, to be able to have a cargo door to get lumber in and out.
That would be absolutely perfect, and that would be the perfect room to do that.
So we can certainly ask them to look at what they could do here. And I would like to then ask your permission for August meeting, based on this feedback, to see if they could go back into the schematical designs, but also then begin that process to turn these schematic designs into architectural blueprint drawings. That's the next step. I am working with them to get a quote on what that would cost to design from schematic to blueprint. And then we would look at, with your permission and approval, possibly in September or further down, look at taking those blueprint designs, those construction designs, having them approved, and then taking them out to bid. The bidding process is a sealed bid process. It would take some time to do that, with the idea that possibly summer of '26, all these projects could be done in one summer on an aggressive schedule.
I think, yeah, I personally think that would be great. I would want, before we did too much more, for you or whoever to meet with our band director, our music director, as well as Mrs. Rosario and Mr. Williams, Mr. Gildner, some of those folks, and because they do it, so they may, where might be something glaring thing that we're not seeing, they would have input in.
Absolutely.
Mrs. Wilt. That's great.
All right.
Do you need something from the board to move forward?
So I don't at this point. What I will do is circle back with RLPS. I will ask them to look at some of those modifications that we talked about to see what that would be, to also give us a quote, and then I'll see what that number is. Look to bring that to you in August, and then in the interim, when our teachers arrive, we'll try to have, between Mr. Funk and myself, have those conversations with the performing arts and some teachers to see how these spaces are going to be utilized, if it meets some of their current concerns and needs. It's not going to address all of them by any means, but hearing some feedback from some students based on that town hall, I think it checks a few boxes along the way and provides some redesign of some spaces that I think is minimal in terms of not expanding, adding additions, blowing out walls, building new boxes, those kinds of things. So we'll look to get a quote. I'll bring that quote to you next week if they have it. If not, it'll be September's meeting. All right. I want to give you some updates right now. There's two projects that we're rolling with in this particular summer. The first one is some roof work that we are doing. By doing this last sections of roof work that you authorized through that small bank loan that we used for the Cumberland Perry Area Career and Technical Center, that will put all of our facilities under warranty for the roofing with these last sections. The sections that we're looking at doing or have gone into contract with are the second floor classrooms at the high school. There's a small facilities area that's located not far from where we are at. It'll put the auditorium roof at the high school and be treated as well. That's a large area. And the gym lobby and locker room areas, which if you look at an aerial, it's the triangle versions. And you'll see these areas are designated, if you looked at an aerial, they're not white. They are still the original black covering, and they will be provided with a 20-year substance that will be placed on them. We have a construction meeting on August 13th. We do have all the clearances for the construction workers that this work will be done during the school day, and then they'll begin that construction process of what two areas they're going to do. In the past, what we've done is their construction equipment has been placed out back, and at the middle school, it's been placed in the side near where the dumpsters are. In the middle school, the one small area is what I would call probably our ELA wing. It has room 133 downward. That large section needs to be done and has not been done. And that will place, like I said, all of the roofs under warranty. So that work should be forthcoming, and it should take a couple of weeks for them to get that done, pending any weather issues. The only downfall, we'll just watch. Windows can't be opened during that time because this substance does have a little bit of an odor. We'll watch that and make sure that it's not permeating into the buildings. The next is our bleacher replacement process, both at the middle school and high school. The systems themselves are finalizing and nearing completion. They're being built by the company is called Kodiak Bleacher Systems. And from there, they'll be shipped on site in 2 different parts on August 11th. So the system will be here on August 11th for the high school. On August 18th, they will begin that process of, August 11th, they'll begin the process of demolishing what's currently in place at the high school, removing those. We're going to take a small amount of wood that we can, and we're going to plane that and use that for our technical education class. There's a lot of bolts, a lot of time-consumingness associated with that. We'll do our best to try to keep what we can and keep what we can in storage, in our limited amounts of storage. But it also is very time-consuming, and we have currently right now 2 active maintenance workers, so it's going to take some time. Following that August 18th, we'll begin that installation. September 1st, the demolition will begin at the middle school, and then September 8th, it will be installed. Installation, pending any issues, should move relatively smoothly. Following that, then the gym floors will be refinished. All in all, our gym teachers are outstanding. They understand this process is occurring. We couldn't ask for better, more flexible teachers. And we should have this ready to rock and roll for our winter sports, pending any issues, for the start of the winter sports season. It does limit capacity just a little bit, but it's fully ADA compliant. We'll have handrails, and there'll be a lower rise. Now, again, anytime you're replacing solid wood bleachers that have lasted the test of time with plastic decking systems, I don't know if we'll get the full life that we got out of the other ones, but just due to watching and seeing individuals being able to navigate up the bleachers, this certainly is needed. So thank you for doing that.
No, and again, for anyone who hasn't really been following that, our current bleachers are amazing, but they're extremely dangerous. They're not safe. They're not in compliance. So we're fortunate we haven't had any more accidents, so we're able to afford to update them. Same thing with the roof work. I mean, we're able to get this work done on our roofs. We had a study done to see whether we should have to replace the roofs or not, and it was more cost efficient to do what we're doing with our roofs now, which would help them to last a long time, so we don't have to replace them. So both of these, putting a little money in to save money and to be safe.
Yeah, thank you. And they were also thermal imaged. So there's certain parts, based on the quote that we received, that will have some insulation repair. That way the water, when we looked at those thermal images, we're able to see some water damage, but that will be replaced during the scope of it. But we knew all that going in, so there shouldn't be any surprises or change orders. Shouldn't be. Moving into a larger project that we've been working on, and we'll provide this overview and update to you, is our ESCO. And ESCO is an energy savings company, otherwise known as Guaranteed Energy Savings. When we look at what a GISA project is in Pennsylvania, it's under performance contracting. So really what the idea is that certain savings that you have is supposed to be able to upgrade the facilities and use the savings to be able to look at future projects moving down the road and help offset some of the cost of those. So where we are at right now as our timeline is going backwards is we selected Pannoni to assist with the feasibility study. We went through that feasibility study, had a second part to that feasibility study, which was the pricing structure as well as a priority structure. So we used that and we completed, reviewed, shared it with you. We updated our contract with Pannoni. to assist with the advertisement and proposal review and scoring. So those proposals were due July 14th. We spent the upwards to about 7 hours, 8 hours, where we spent time reviewing each one of those proposals. They were very massive. We had a team of around 5 that did rubric scoring. We continued, or before that, I'm sorry, we had a site visit for the interested companies, and the proposals were due July 14th. Our scoring occurred on July 17th, and we had a team of 7, so I forgot a couple of people. From that, we decided at this point that we still have additional questions, so we brought all 3 of the companies in and provided them an opportunity to kind of refine some of the aspects that were in that, and allowed us a chance to ask them some questions. From that, we have additional questions that we want to go back to these companies and ask them. So that's where we are currently at right now. The goal is, this is one of those go slow to go fast. We want to make sure that the company that we select and bring to you with pricing, and it's going to be all broken down pricing structure-wise, is a company that gives us the best value and one that we've done our homework and due diligence on, and we feel comfortable bringing forward to you. So some of the scope of work for this proposal came directly from that, from the feasibility study, as well as the proposal that we discussed. It was HVAC replacement or recommission in the Susquenita Middle School. We wanted one that's going to operate or be readjusted to be able to have 90% efficiency at least, as well as added dehumidification. We were looking at replacement of windows and doors here at the high school, flooring and fixture replacement at the middle school and high school bathrooms, middle school and elementary school hallway flooring replacement in certain sections. You'll see there are certain sections that are beginning to bubble with some of the, what we would say it's some type of laminate that's on there as well. That's a little bit old. It requires too much TLC and it's starting to fail. Middle school ceiling tile replacement. If you've been to our middle school, you'll see there's like 8 different types of ceiling tiles, different spaces, different cuts, different replacements. The high school EFIS wall repair. If you've been outside of our high school, you'll be able to touch that material and see it's soft. The enemy of EFIS is water, so we want to make sure that that's seal coated 5 to 8 inches. Any of those areas that were damaged are repaired, as well as fully painted in a painting scheme or schematic design that we and you as the board select. And it has a little pop based upon some feedback as well from our students at the town hall meeting. Middle school hallway and classroom lighting replacement. That's an energy savings cost, as well as providing a little bit of reducing some of these fluorescent lights and some of the older outdated LEDs with more modern fixtures to give it that new seamless approach while saving funds as well. One of the areas that are on here is an area where we forgot in our original scope, but we need to add, is replacement of insulation at the middle school as well. We have condensate piping. That insulation in several parts is old. That's why you see a lot of the wet spots that needs to be replaced, either put in with Armorflex or fiberglass. And a lot of those joints and areas where the valves are also needs to be wrapped and done, redone. So our engineer helped to really walk us through this process and it provided us a lot of assistance. So we're extremely happy for his guidance and continued guidance on that. Again, right now where we're at is we have more questions for them. We want to get those questions back, kind of arrive at a particular contractor based upon some pricing, and our goal is to give this information back to you, provide that to you, hopefully at September or maybe even October's meeting, depending on when we get that information and we feel comfortable. It'll have all the pricing for each of these areas, and then really what we're looking at for our next steps would be a generalized agreement based upon that. And you could go through that and say, because we wanted to make sure that all of these had pricing to it. And in the original scope is you could accept it, all of it if you wanted to. You could reject it all, or you could reject some or in part. So you have that ability to say, hey, that's great, but that's too high. I don't think we need this. I think we need all of this. Let's roll. And the next step would be for us to approve, and with one of the companies, an initial agreement. And then they would go through and spend a large amount of time going through what's called an investment grade audit. That's really where they're going to take a look at all of our bills deeply. They're going to measure a lot of and calibrate a lot of the systems, which is a requirement of this. And then a formal agreement based upon what they calculate will be based on that agreement. So still a lot of work to be done, but I think we wanted to talk about where we are at right now and the amount of work that certainly our offices has done to this point, based on this process, that we're not just rushing through it, picking something that looks good and saying, here it is, let's go. We want to make sure it's done right. This has upwards to be a several $million project, and we want to make sure it's done well, done right, and it addresses several of the needs of that long-term feasibility study.
Thank you. And I would just say to anyone listening or anyone who's here who's not been keeping up on this, some of us have been dealing with some of these issues probably, well, more than 5 years, probably, easily. We have an amazing maintenance crew that does an amazing job, but you can only put a Band-Aid on things for so long, and these buildings are very old. And frankly, I think some of the renovations that were done in the past were not necessarily done as maybe they should have been. So we hired an engineering firm to come in and take a look at all of our buildings and tell us what is actually needed, what is not needed. And ultimately, we came down to the plan that finally we're looking at now after many, many, many hours and years of hard work to make sure that we're not just putting Band-Aids on things, or that we're replacing things that need to be replaced, or just updating things that need to be updated for safety reasons. And a lot of this is cost savings, ultimately as well. So thank you so much. I'm glad we have a very clear focus, it seems.
All right, our last presentation for this evening is we discussed last school year, transitioning to an electronic system that we currently use for our board policies, but to transition into that for our agendas, our work sessions, which are our caucus meetings, and our policy committee meetings, and other meetings that we may have, special meetings such as budget meetings and others that are had throughout the year. The process or the system is called Board Docs. It's a really well-known system used by several municipalities and school districts throughout the United States, and in particular here in Pennsylvania as well. So this is going to really have some incredible features to it. So not only are the agendas going to be there, previous agendas will be there, notes will be attached, meeting minutes will be attached from there as well as a link for the meeting that you'll be able to see from the YouTube video for the meeting that will be streamed and linked directly to it. So if you wanted to historically go back, you can look at that meeting. If you missed a meeting, you're on vacation or off, you can go back through and look. If you wanted to see what our history has been throughout the process, you can go back through and look at those as well. And I think really the goal is that it continues that increase in transparency, continues and allows people to go back in time and see historically what has been going on, what have some of the trends been, how many times have we discussed A, B, and C, what are some of our moments, and what are some of the conversations that we've had. You can see how many times I use my hands or in those meetings and make fun of me. But all of this is part of our commitment to the community to be able to have that full lens of transparency. There will be a learning curve certainly associated with this. So our timeline is we're going to try the September's meeting. We're going to try to make sure you have all this information that we walk through and we show you what this interface looks like. You're probably going, if you already haven't, receive an email. And in that email, we'll have your username and have a password. And then when you get that password, you'll go in and you'll be able to have an opportunity to reset that. And if you didn't get it, no problem. You're going to let me know, and we're going to make sure you get that here as well. The public will be able to log in by clicking the tab on it that says Public Access, and you'll be able to see within 24 hours, just as you do now, that's posted on our website, this public meeting that will have the listing and attachments. Here's what the site will look like right now. It's currently up right now that you'll be able to see it under Board Policies. You'll be able to see it. That's located on the right-hand side. You click on Meetings, it's going to be blank right now, but in the future it'll populate and say on the next 5 days, this is what the meeting is, next 15 days, next 20 days, or previous days, and you'll be able to have that search feature. I think it'll work out well. There'll be some kinks, there'll be some things that we'll want to tweak and learn and grow, but I think overall it's going to be a good system for us. And this is the LT version, which is kind of, I guess in terms of like a car model, it's kind of your basic car model. but I think it's going to get us to where we need to go. Questions on board docs? All right. Email would probably come from like, it would call it like Diligent brand, so it'd be a form email.
I don't think we got it yet.
You might want to check your spam filter to see if it went in.
I don't feel like I got the email on my
Okay.
account screen, but we can get
Yeah, that's,
it. We can get it.
absolutely. We'll send it out. It'll have your username and your password to go in and change. I can send that out to the entire group too. You'll have it. Everybody gets that same information, so. Great. All right, that kind of goes through our presentation items. Is there any questions for the board before we open up for public comments?
From the board.
Pardon?
You said for the board.
Oh.
From the board.
From the board, sorry. All right, at this time, we'll open up for public comments. If you come to the microphone, we just ask that you state your name and your township.
Kelly Noss, Penn Township. On the board docs, would it be possible any of the presentations you guys put up on the screen here to also include in that? Because I know for the people that watch from it at home, it is very hard to see that screen. So,
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. As we kind of work through how to do that, certain presentations we'll be able to put up, absolutely.
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Keith Lindsay from Reed Township. Most of my neighbors are here. We'd like to have some explanation on the tax rates for the budget. I mean, if nothing else, you have an optics problem where 200 properties in the district are seeing a 4.5. Is this not on? Okay, is that better? Yeah, we're to talk about the tax rate, and well, it's 4.4% increase for Reed Township, and ironically, a slight decrease for Perry County. All right, there's 200 properties in Reed Township, and this has been going on for years and years and years. I think maybe Phil's the only one that was here 10, 11 years ago when we had the big brouhaha over the taxes and the assessed values. I don't know. Who represents Reed Township? You have Watts and Reed, and you do as well. Okay. I mean, can anybody explain to us why our taxes went up when 98% of the district had a slight decrease?
Jason, do you want to talk about STEB?
Yeah, so there's a rebalancing that takes place basically on the assessment, and what it does is it compares the Perry County portion and the Dauphin portion. So when you talk in terms of the tax index that's set, you know, it's whoever hits that percentage first is, you know, what is the max allowable tax increase for the year. So as the assessed values change between the different counties, that is what kind of sways where one might see more of an increase and one sees less of an increase. So as you said, Perry County portion this year was at 0%, and Dauphin came out to be at 4.4%. Last year, we took a 4.5% increase, so Perry County saw a 4.5% increase, and Dauphin only saw a 3.2% increase. And then the year prior to that as well, Perry saw a small increase and Dauphin saw a small decrease. So it always comes down to the rebalancing exercise based on the assessment values within each county individually.
I just want to go back real quick to make sure I'm hearing. I heard you board meetings before, but last year, Perry County had a higher increase than Dauphin County. In the year before, Perry County had a higher increase, and Dauphin County had a slightly lower, a decrease.
Correct.
So it doesn't, I think this is horrible. I agree with you 1,000%. And but it doesn't always come out that way. But I will also say this, and correct me if I'm wrong. Those of us who voted for this budget, I believe, voted for as close to a 0% increase as we could. If we would have put 0%, we would have had to put
Perry County.
Dauphin County at 0%, and then Perry County would have gotten a big tax decrease in the district. If we would have done that, the district would have had how much of a loss?
Yeah, it was like a $400,000
Like 400.
loss.
We would have actually had $4,000 less income this year, next year, $400,000 less income this year than last year. So what we did is we only raised taxes to the point where we had to make as much this year as we made last year. It's the closest to a 0% tax increase we could come up with without taking several $100,000 loss.
Yeah, I didn't see last year's budget online. I don't know if that was forgotten, but it's not there that I could find to do any comparison. But I do know in the past 10 years, the tax revenue has gone up by about 30%, while you still maintain the same basic tax rate in Perry County. And Dauphin County is always bouncing. And, you know, it comes down to numbers on the right side of the decimal point that make a big impact on the 200 properties. And, you know, I say it's an optics problem because the assessed value in Perry County last year was $940 million. This year it's $953 million. So you had a $13 million increase in assessed properties.
If I may, and I have been on the board for 14 years, and I do recall I was on the board with Phil years ago, and in the 14 years I've been on the board, we've only voted to raise taxes twice because of exactly what you just said. The income is increasing and coming in, and I think we are one of the only schools, definitely in the county, and maybe in, you know, a tri-county or more that has not raised taxes. We've only raised taxes twice in 14 years.
Perry County.
Yeah, but can I try for a
Yeah,
second?
please,
Mike?
Phil.
So if you
Yeah.
remember 10 years ago,
Yes.
it was because sheets went in and it raised your value up so high. That was why, because it was like a 13% or 14% increase, or maybe it was even higher than that if I don't remember correctly.
It was at 16, I think.
Yeah. And honestly, what happens is we set a number and we turn it into the state and they come back and tell us what your number is. It's not actually something we even control. We set a tax rate.
I understand you don't control what the state controls, but you as a tax body have an obligation to question the data the state supplies you. I mean, back at the same time we're talking, the state auditor, I forget what his name was, had a real issue with the step data. Said it was inaccurate and unreliable. I don't know where that study ever went, if it went anywhere. But you brought up sheets. And I'll give you an example here. I was looking for like properties in the district. The sheets in Dauphin County, you know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's in the one down here. They're both on approximately 2.5 acres, give or take. The sheets down here on State Road is assessed at $887,600. The one in Reed Township assessed at $990,000. So $100 and some thousand difference in assessed values.
But you have to remember, we don't do that assessment. That's Dauphin County.
Doesn't matter.
I understand that, but we don't have any control over the assessed value of that
I
property.
understand that. You have no control over the Perry County assessment either.
Well, no, you're correct, we don't, but
Right. The Sheets down the street here will pay with this budget, $11,767,000 in property taxes. The one in Dauphin County, $25,386. A $14,000 difference in two basically identical properties. How is that justified? I have a neighbor, single-family home. His real estate taxes are going to be over $10,000, almost as much as the Sheets down here. If you go back and look over history around 2010, 11, somewhere in there, prior to that, we were always a little bit higher. The graph followed, and then Reed Township just shot up. And in Perry County, you know, you can take the ups and downs because you have enough property to absorb it. We don't. There has to be questions to the people that provide you with the data as to its accuracy. I mean, you remember, Phil, you know, the STEP changed their market values 11, 12 years ago. Based on, you know, they massage the data, because there's so few sales in Reed Township that one big sale skews it.
yeah. You're 100% accurate. And unfortunately, I don't know if it would help you or hurt you, but I don't think Dauphin County's done an assessment in like 30 years.
That
If they ever do that, it's either gonna help you or it's gonna hurt you. I'm not sure
no,
which.
it's not going to do either. It's all driven by market value.
Yeah.
That's the number. That's the one that matters.
And if you know, I did.
And we
I
could
wanted
get-
a lower budget, so I did vote against this one because I thought that we should be at a 0 across the board.
I think as school directors, you should understand exactly what the disparity is in the tax rate and what's driving it. I can tell you it's not right. That Sheets example, that's you can't justify that. You know, my mother is 80. You know, Dave and Tim's mother, she's 90. You know, Perry County has it nice. I mean, every year, you know, your taxes are going to be somewhere in here. We, you know, could be up, might be down a little bit, but never much. But I'd like to see the school board, there's other districts that are in the same situation across county lines. And I don't know if there's any with 98.2% split like we have here. You know, a lot of them are 40-60, stuff like that. But, you know, get your finance people to talk to some of these other districts and how they do ensure there's uniform taxing going on. I mean, just saying, well, that's what the state provided, and here we go. That's good enough for us. Well, it shouldn't be. If it doesn't smell right, it doesn't smell right. And I go back to that Sheets example. You know, same taxing body, very similar properties, and a huge difference in tax rate. So I don't know what, you know, if you can put a little study together, work group or something to appease us across the river there, and you know, so at least we, you know, can make some sense out of it.
One thing I could ask is, regardless of what we do now or don't do now, we started talking in January about this budget, and we had probably at least 3, well, no, we've probably had 6, 7 public meetings where we talked about budget starting in March. So for you all, if you could mark your calendars to make sure that you attend some of those starting next spring so that you can make your concerns known while we're working on the entire budget process. That'd be really, really helpful, so we would know specific questions at the time. We would know exactly what the rates were going on. We'd have all these conversations before a budget was approved. Like I said, regardless of what happens now or not, please know that we probably had at least 6 public meetings, budget meetings plus caucus meetings. We spent hours and hours and hours and hours and hours talking about budget. So I please mark your calendars. We need people to come out and share this during the process.
And just for the record, not that it matters, but it does. I voted against it. I didn't think it was fair that you guys got a raise. It got it raised, so I voted against it. I mean, I realize that you're one of my constituents too in Reed Township, so I did vote against the raise of that. I mean, it doesn't do any good, but I mean, because I'm just one person.
I appreciate that. You know, it's, what do we do? We just want it fair.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
what?
the sad thing is we missed reassessments in the same year about 20 years ago. And if both counties would have reassessed in the same year, you can make the tax rate the same. There is no split. And you know, now you're going through another one, which that'll be on next year's budget, and I don't know what it's going to do to Reed Township. I have no idea yet. I know you can't take in any more revenue than you would have, right, in the previous year or something.
Correct. The board could authorize any increase, but it's revenue neutral in terms of what we're able to collect, and it's using Act 1 index data for the 24-25 school year, is my understanding.
But we're still going to be the oddball left out. You know, whatever the formula spits out, based off of step data, which you got to question. Now, I spent many hours on the phone 10, 11 years ago with people down in that office, and they said, well, yeah, we have lots of school boards come in here and question our data. I said, well, I don't know if Susquenita ever has until that time 11 years ago.
Well, I believe 4 years ago, you and I had met. I believe we sat down, and I believe it was the business manager at the time, and you and I had talked and spoke and looked at the different properties throughout the area, and I believe you were working very diligently with, I believe it was Senator DeSanto at the time in his office, of getting some legislative changes, I believe, if that's accurate.
Yeah, but nothing ever became of it.
Okay.
I mean, we met down with the Department of Education down in Harrisburg, and they kicked it back. Well, that's a school district problem, and it's everybody points the fingers, and nobody wants to own up to it. It's very complicated to understand when you. I mean, it's numbers, and I mean your budget's passed audits for years with glaring inaccuracies in them that you had a whole stretch of years where nothing changed for Perry County. It was 12.2 or something like that for a whole bunch of years. And if you understand a district that's in two counties, it can never be that. Every year it has to change. There's variables that change every year that go into that equation. And in order to keep it flat, for one, somebody's fudging the number somewhere. And we had that talk 4 or 5 years ago, and I see the fluctuation as it should be, out to the right of the decimal point, but if you can get somebody to look a little closer at it, I mean, I don't know what else to do. Ask other districts that are in the same situation. There's several.
Yeah, there are several multi-county districts. I think you really did a nice job of explaining that some may have a little equal or split.
Right.
Some have three counties,
Exactly.
excuse me, one has 4. We've actually been on a call with a couple to be able, so we do share a lot of resources. I think you also did a nice job of explaining how schools should reach out to other schools and discuss how this process should work, and we do. Throughout our organizations, we connect through the Pennsylvania School Business Officers Association, PASBO. They do a really nice job of helping us discern large amounts of data and break that down and utilize that. But yes, you're exactly right. There are multiple counties. Difference is in percentages, all the way from, Butler and Armstrong, where there's a massive increase, amongst those two counties for one school district, to just certain neighboring school districts. You'll see multi-counties as well. So that phenomenon through STEM has been something that we continually watch and see. But yeah, we'll continue to look on the horizons and talk with those organizations that are set up to help us.
One thing I do question is the market value percentage for Reed Township is like 3.3% now. And it used to run in like 2.7, 2.8. And for the life of me, I can't figure out how Reed Township is outgrowing all the municipalities in Perry County. You got a mountain full of houses down there now that should offset anything going on in Reed Township by a lot. Why isn't your market value going up at the same rate as Reed Township or higher, what it should be? Years ago, I thought this is great. It's soon going to be 9.5% Perry County and 0.5% Reed Township, but it's not working out that way. No, thank you for your time. I don't know if anybody else had anything to say. Mr. Palmer.
Hi, I'm Dave Palmer from Reed Township. I'm a township supervisor. A lot of people have complaints, so I'm just helping coming along to maybe hopefully get you guys to help out. Also, the STEB meeting, that was the thing that was brought up before. So I'm trying to maybe meet with them, figure out what we could do there. Also, there's other suggestions of, our students, our 6 or 8 students that we have now, are part of the district would just go to Halifax. Of course, that would dissolve Reed Township in a way, but that's the only other option because we'd be paying the same as what they are now. But then that would be a big deficit for you guys. So I was just hoping that we could, get together or meet at some point to go down and partner up with STEP and say, hey, look, we got something different here. Maybe we're just trying to help them out. So that was my other part. So just elaborating on that.
Thank you for your comments.
So I think I heard you mention going to Halifax. Do you know what the current tax rate for the school district is for the students going to Halifax? I'm sorry, can you? Okay, so it's not less than what you're paying at Susquenita. It would be more. Okay.
Do you know what the zip code is up there? It's a 172.
We have some online comments.
1720.
That's what we're pulling up, right, at least one.
So you don't know what that is.
So the question from Corey Stone, what did the district glean from the town hall and what has been changed and improved since the meeting? Well, I think a lot has been changed and improved, and a lot has gleaned from the meeting, from the original town hall meeting. I think looking at it, first, I think giving that students an opportunity to be an engaged citizen in practice, certainly those elements of our portrait of a graduate. But I think a lot of things, I think a small one is that some of the questions, such as the microwave in the cafeteria, we had to go back to our insurance company, and unfortunately that was something we couldn't do. The feedback, such as what we're doing right now with the RLPS architectural study, looking at that framework and being able to put some of those areas in place. I believe from the mortar boards, the graduation caps, being able to put those parameters and the students being able to celebrate those elements throughout that as well was a nice kind of approach from that town hall meeting as well.
If I can, just be specific, the kids wanted, we have these little, they're called hiney hiders in the bathrooms. You can basically look over. The kids were like, we need new bathroom stalls, which is one of the things that we are having done. They wanted to be able to decorate the tops of their hats and say what school they're going to or whatever. We never allowed that. This year we allowed that for, they talked about needing a dressing room and some other things which we're planning. But more specifically, I think one of the goals that we heard tonight when we were talking about town halls was, if I understood whatever that group was to put together a relatively succinct summary of the most salient things that came out of that, and that's going to be shared probably in detail soon, I would assume, whoever, I don't know, no?
We actually shared the follow-up from the town hall meeting, I think, in May.
Yeah, it was shared with, I didn't know if we did that publicly. I guess we did.
So some of the elements, I think, that came across were AP classes, and currently right now we offer the most AP classes in Perry County. We offer 10. We're going to continue to look at how AP can blend into some of our current offerings. AP Art was mentioned. And again, we're going to look at what does that look like? What is that group across the board? AP Art is usually a portfolio based. Who's ready for that, and how can we make sure that those types of things continue to be looked at throughout our curriculum? Clubs and classes for upper class levels, we have currently already surveyed, and we're looking at that and being able to look at how can we offer but not pull across the board. We want to make sure those elective classes are refreshed and rebranded. They go across the curriculum. They're offered for kids across multiple different academic aptitudes, as well as different genres that they're interested in, that give a full array of our course catalog and our career pathways. A culture class was looked at, and we said, how can we take that as we look at our social studies, rebuilding our social studies, taking that time within there to be able to ensure that culture, world cultures, geography, and those elements are bled throughout those strands of our curriculum. Counselors and individual student meetings, that is already in the works, to have a plan to be able to touch base with students, track that over time, and be able to have those more one-on-one meetings. Locker rooms, Mr. Howell, our Director of Maintenance, examined the locker rooms to make sure there wasn't any particular issues or pertinent issues with those, and our understanding is everything is working accordingly, and he'll continue to monitor that with our team. The library printer, we're addressing that. One was removed from the library. Printing is something that we want to make sure that is limited because of the large amounts of cost, but still students will have access to printing on a regular basis as needed. The microwave in the cafeteria, we noted that. Lunch portion sizes, Nutrition Inc. works directly with our students. There's an outstanding, very energetic kind of food service manager that we have as well, that's going to continue to meet with those students and meet with the principals on a regular basis. Cap and gowns, school aesthetics inside and out, hence our feasibility study, and looking at how can we add some of the elements of our art club to add different strands throughout this building to break up some of those longer hallways, to bring some of that life into the hallways from the interior, and then how can we refresh after FS repair to the outside if possible, and what does that look like, and what's going to weather the best over time. So great question by Mr. Stone, and we look at continuing to add those elements to be able to meet the needs of our students. If there are no other public comments, our caucus meeting will transition to, our next meeting will be Tuesday, August 12th at 7 o'clock here in the LGI.